Answer this quiz to find out what type of dinosaur you'd be. You got Aquaman. That was your dinosaur.
Your dinosaur is Aquaman.
Your dinosaur is Aquaman. God. You know they're making an Aquaman movie? Did you know that?
What are they going to do? They're like, hey, that coral is corrupt. Okay. Aquaman. Hello, welcome to the show with no name. I am B, which is short for Brendan, and he is Daniel. Daniel, even you and I are using it. We're using technology to record this. People are listening to this via technology. And over the past 10 years, there have been massive technology advances. In the past 20 years, there have been massive technology advances, 30, 40, 50. So when I was a kid, we didn't even have microwaves. Cable TV was just coming out. No cell phones.
How would you heat up your Hot Pockets then?
There were no Hot Pockets.
That sucks. That's a terrible childhood.
There were no Totino's pizza rolls, anything like that. You came home and your snack was Captain Crunch. That was your snack.
Wait a minute. I thought TV dinners came out when you were a child.
Yeah, that's true.
Was that micro? Then that was oven then, right?
It was oven-based. Exactly.
Wow, okay.
So you'd
all right.
put them in the oven. So it wasn't fast food. Right, because you'd actually have to heat it up in the oven. However, it was easy for mom and dad because when they came home...
Because they didn't have to do anything. Right, you just pop it in the oven and it's just like leave it in there for like, I don't know, like 10, 13 minutes.
I think it was more like 30.
Wow,
but I do remember
whatever.
a lot of Salisbury steak oven TV dinners. Yeah, Salisbury steak. I love those.
Why is that like the most popular one? Like, I don't understand. Is it because it's the only one that's like... it's just like a juicy like meat type. I'm not saying it's like a good juicy. It's just like mush meat.
It's fat tasty. It's tasty fattish, right? Because you have the gravy.
Yeah.
That and the other one was some kind of fried chicken with mashed potatoes and corn.
Yeah, that's like your alternative, and it's like dry chicken with.
Yeah, exactly. And the mashed potatoes, you're like, you sure this isn't like?
Is this even? Is this actually potatoes?
Is this powder? Is that what this exactly is?
It's powdered. It's starch. It's starch. Mashed starch is what it is.
Anyway, we've moved a long way away from the topic and in technological advances. We've got cell phones now. Again, when I was growing up, it wasn't even something that we would thought about. Now in the 80s, we did have quote unquote portable phones, but they were these bulky radio things that you would see. Like the military use, like in the Vietnam films, right? The guys running around. Oh yeah, we need a fly-by napalm drop right over.
They look like giant gray bananas.
So, yes, exactly. And they were, of course, always tied to some guy's backpack, which was funny. Like the guy who ran around with it was never the guy who actually used it. They'd be like, they'd be Skippy, come here, and then Skippy'd run over there if he didn't get shot, and be the guy, and then the guy on the other end would be like. And somehow they communicated, and that's how napalm just got dropped everywhere. Because they were like, where did he want it? That's there, right there. Can you see where that tracer fire is? Just blow that area wide open, man.
I think we're hitting a very sensitive topic now.
That's true. Anyway, speaking of technology, so the rapid advances that we've had, especially in the last 10 years. So we have Wi-Fi, right? That's exploded in the last 10 years. Tablets, which go with Wi-Fi. We've had social networking, which has just exploded. Yeah, in the last 10 years. I'll say social networking.
No, that's better. That's a better phrasing of it.
Wearable technologies, because you have things like the iPhone, eyeglasses, something along those lines like that. Right. So there's all these things, and it's funny for me when I grew up. So a lot of times I don't even bring my phone to work. When I worked at headquarters, I would bring my phone in maybe 8 days a year. And part of the reason for that was you couldn't get a signal where I sat. In fact, on our floor, you couldn't get a signal. People would have to like kind of wander around to get a signal. And I'm like, well, if I can't get why am I bringing my phone in?
Yeah.
All right. Having said all these things, a lot of times I don't use it. We're talking about technology just we'll say in the last 15 years.
Okay.
If you could only have one piece of technology and all the others didn't exist, what is the one piece that you would keep? Right? So we have TVs, we have cars, we have submarines, we have perpetual motion machines.
Well, hang on. Let me ask a few preferencing questions because like cars came out like 100 years ago,
so
submarines like 150 years ago probably. Cell phones, probably the last 20 years? Maybe like good cell phones, like the last 5 years,
right,
maybe.
Because I remember my first cell phone was a little flip dingly dude.
Yeah, and they
Tiny,
weren't the best. They lose signal, drop calls.
The battery
all the time,
was like bigger than the phone.
I remember drop calls were like a major thing, and I get that there's some technology. There's some. I guess I shouldn't say they're not.
Drop calls are still a thing.
No, I know there's still a thing. I'm just saying they used to be like a main thing. Like that was a main selling point for cell phone companies. It was less drop calls. I don't see that in cell phone ads anymore because it's not as big of an issue anymore because the technology got better. But okay, so cell phones like the last 5 years, Wi-Fi, the last 15 years probably, somewhere around there. Dial-up was like 20 years ago or something.
Dial-up was more than that because I remember when I got out of college, we did have dial-up. We had so before there was the www or HTTPS, we had BBS, which was bulletin board system or services, something like that. And yeah, you dial in, and it was all text, and you
hear that great sound. Yeah,
it's like that's a fax.
Yeah, it sounds like that's what fax is still used to this day. So, okay, so when you say I can only have one technology, so obviously you said the last 15 years, but you just mean any technological advance, because some of those things you mentioned were going back far. So, what's your preference?
Right. So you within the past 15 years, so you have cars, you have televisions, microwaves.
So I don't have to give those up.
Right, those all stay.
They all stay.
It's not one of these things like if you can only have one piece of technology in the last 100 years, what would it be? I'd be like
so it's either Wi-Fi, cell phone,
something along those lines.
Tablets,
exactly. Your tablets,
computers,
your iPad, your drone devices.
Can I have two?
You have two? No, that's the whole reason that you can only have one. Okay, so we'll go with so give me your two.
Well, no. The reason I say two is because I can't think of I feel like everyone will say cell phone. I don't think anyone in today's day and age would not say cell phone. The reason why this device that we carry around with us nowadays is everything in one. It's my phone calls, it's my internet, it's my email, it's everything. But when I say two, it does work better when you're on Wi-Fi, so that's the only reason why I'd want that. I'd want to have the Wi-Fi just so I could use my phone. So then that's fine. Reason. That's fine. You know what? The LTE of today's day and age, if this is all I get, I would definitely take my cell phone over anything else. I can't think that I would that I'd want to take anything else.
I think most people would take that. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know why. Yeah, I can't think of a viable reason why I would want one of the other technologies that came out in the last 15 years.
You could do without social media and engineering and networking?
Yeah,
oh my
you
God,
know what?
I have to have that.
You know what? Actually, it's funny that you mentioned that because that's a topic that I think about constantly now. Is that I remember when social networking first started coming out, and
it was MySpace was one of the big ones.
Yeah, no, I think it started with Friendster was the first one. There was a few other ones that came before. I didn't have all of them. MySpace was the first one that I had, and I didn't get it until later in life. And I didn't get it because I didn't want to get it. I was the kid who always wanted to go against the social norm of what everyone was doing. I'm not. Well, I didn't do it as a statement to the system. I think it was just more a statement of I don't want someone else to. Well, I guess that is kind of bump the system. I just didn't want anybody to tell me how to live my life or tell me that, oh, this is cool, so you have to do it, or everybody's doing it, so you have to do it too. In fact, probably one of the best examples I can use to argue this point. There was a year that scooters in the United States, I'm talking the Razor scooters in the United States, was the hottest item for kids to have. I remember everyone was getting them.
So Razor scooters?
Razor scooters. It's the little. It's literally just looks like an L shape. And it's got two wheels on it and the handlebars, and that's it.
Oh,
and kids were riding these. It's kind of like the alternative to skateboarding for people who can't.
Two wheels on it. There was two in the front and two in the back. They were almost like
no.
Right.
There's two. They're two. It's just two wheels.
Yeah, you're right.
One in the front, one in the back.
It's thin.
They're very thin.
Right, I got you now. Yep.
And you'd pedal yourself along with one foot and ride with the other one, and then you'd put your foot on there. Now, I remember as a kid, this was the hottest item. Everyone I knew wanted one of these and had one in their family or wanted to get one. And the most popular by far Like, without a shout of a doubt, the most popular company that was out right at that time was a company called Razor. Razor scooters. Now, this is in the United States. Granted, it may have been a different company elsewhere. But in the United States and in my area, everyone and their mom had a Razor scooter. And Sharper Image, one of the most technologically advanced companies, they're always selling these weird tech items.
Like every year, yep.
They had a Razor scooter with their Sharper Image logo on it. That was one of the things that they sold, is they sold a Sharper Image Razor scooter. And I think my brother had one. But every single one in my family wanted a Razor scooter. And every single one of the kids in my family got one for Christmas, except for me, because I didn't want the Razor scooter. I wanted the off-brand, the Micro scooter. So I went with the other company, the Micro company, which was not as popular. Very few kids had them. I wanted the Micro version because Micro, the company, was different. It wasn't the one that everyone else was using, and I wanted to have that one instead. And so that's what I have. And it's still in the garage. I think it's still in my parents' garage today. I think they still have those my Micro scooter. I would always say, oh, mine's cooler because it's got a longer board, type of thing. I didn't get to choose my color because based off of which one of the Micro you got determined the color you got. So it was orange, whereas the Razor ones, you got to choose like a whole plethora of colors. Is like, what color do you want? They're all the same. Just pick a color that you like and then you'll be happy. But that wasn't me. Like I got just the one that I wanted and it was orange. And I was like, all right, cool. So this is my scooter, bump the system. I guess I don't really know. But I say all that to just prove my point in saying that I was a little late to the game when it came to social networking. I got a MySpace late. I got a Facebook like my junior year in college. And at that point, everyone had a Facebook way back in high school, and I was just like, I don't want a Facebook. I don't want a Facebook. I'm never going to get a Facebook. I said that many times, and now I have a Facebook. I did
too. I said that many times as well.
And then you had one.
And then I got rid of it.
Well, hey, no, props to you for getting rid of it. I still have mine. Now, I still have mine because I run my band page through it. That's the excuse that I make. I will occasionally post something. It's usually about once a month. Once a month, I may post something, but that's about it. I don't really get on there very much. But the longer that I've had social media and the older that I've gotten, the more that I don't want it anymore. I like it for some aspects. I like every now and then it's kind of cool to see, oh, hey, cool. Like it's cool to get pictures of like my favorite band. One of my favorite bands is in the studio right now recording for a new album, and they post pictures from the studio. And that's cool. I like seeing that, type of thing. But I would go to their website and just look at that if they didn't offer it through social media. Type of thing. I don't need the social media. It's just kind of a more convenient way of them sharing it. So no, I wouldn't take social networking by any means. I would throw social media out the window, and I wish everyone would throw it out too. Because what we've done with social media, and I hate to get a little too real here, and I'm sorry, I feel like I've been talking for like 20 minutes fine. Straight now. But
that's what we're supposed to do. All the other people,
but I have a point.
They just hear us.
I have a point I want to make. There's just one thing I want to say. And this was something my pastor said, and I just thought that this was the best way that someone could word what social media is today. I'm not saying everybody uses this way. I'm saying the majority, I feel like, use it this way. He said, I have over 100 friends. Now, that's a small amount. He was just using it as an example. I have over 100 friends on Facebook, but I have much fewer connections. And that's what social media has turned into. It's this race for numbers. You're trying to get more friends, more likes, more comments, more attention. It's an attention-seeking thing, and it turns into just a selfish thing. So no, as far as technology goes, no, bump, social media. We can throw that out the window and pretend like it never happened. Mark Zuckerberg, where you at, bro? Just, we don't need it.
Yeah, sorry, Mark, but I really could do without it.
I could do without it. I know that
and Twitter and some of the other, although it's funny because we're like, you can follow us on Twitter.
You can follow us on Twitter at Texas Waffles.
Well, you always had this comment like, quote unquote, Brendan and I suck at Twitter.
We do suck at Twitter. I don't understand Twitter. Our Twitter page right now has like maybe 2 followers. I don't have no idea.
I don't know.
I don't even know. Like, how do you advertise a podcast on Twitter? Hey, we got a podcast. Come listen. Like, am I supposed to go spam other podcasts and say listen to our show?
That's not who we are. We're not spammers.
No, we're not.
I actually had a like on my Instagram. No, somebody followed me on my Instagram account today, and I hadn't been on Instagram in like a week, and I haven't posted in like over 2 months. And I'm like, why is somebody, and it's, it's whoever, it's like Joe from Alberta, Canada. And I'm like, I don't even know you. Right. And his interests aren't even the same as mine. Like, hey, I sell toy fish. I'm like, okay, congratulations. I don't know. I'm not following you back. Do you understand this?
There's a lot of fake accounts, and there's a lot of accounts out there that use it primarily for spam. But I think we're getting off topic for where you wanted to go with all this. I'm sorry, I went off on a huge tangent, and I kind of made I don't know. I just felt like I needed to make that point.
That's fine. State your opinion. That's fine. Sony.
I guess that's why people listen to us, right?
As you were.
Is to get our opinions. That's why people listen to us in the first place,
They're like,
right?
What do these two clowns want to say?
All right.
I showed this.
Tell me about Sony. Sony. Okay, no, that's fine.
I showed this like it's audio. I played this audio for a friend of mine who was over earlier in the week. We jogged together, and he says, "You do a podcast?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so I played a couple of the intros from some of the episodes, and he was laughing a lot, and he goes, "Oh man, that's really," he's like, "That's really, really great. That just sounds hilarious. Like you guys have a lot of fun." And I'm like, "That's the point. The point of this is to bring humor and laughter and just entertainment more so than anything." Anyway, exactly. as you were talking a year ago, the one thing that I couldn't live without of the technological advances that we've had in this past 15 plus years or so, you're talking about cell phones. And I think most Americans and most westernized people would agree with you. However, I was thinking about the people who biological is not the word. They have mechanical limbs now and artificial limbs, right? So you have people who now have, and then Oscar Pistorius, who I know is a controversial figure, but he had these running blades, right? So he's an amputee from the knees down, but he has these actual blades that allow him not just to walk, but to sprint and run, right? So he can continue doing what he loves to doing. And Sony now is creating a camera which will fit in your contact lens.
Really?
Right? So it's not like, hey, this helps you see, which I'm sure eventually, if not, we don't have the technology for that already. There will be technology for that already. Like, because look, we do have laser surgery, and some people are probably like, man, if I could pick any one thing, it would be the laser surgery. I'd throw my phone away so that I could see. Right? So and I don't mean to put this in a perspective of, oh, how shallow of you to pick the cell phones. I'm just saying that there are people out there that are so thankful. The technology advances have allowed people to, quote unquote, I know the use of the word normal is not, it's changeable, but allows these people to resume, so to speak, a normal life of one degree or another, right? And so here we are with people who have these, right, you have regular contact lenses just so you can see, and they now have cameras in them, which begs the question, insane. How do you activate that? Like, where is the, right?
I like how you're like rapidly, going... And you're going down this trail of, and all these great technological advances now people can see with laser surgery, and they can walk again with, amputees can walk again. How do you start recording with that? Like, that's the only thing. I like how that's where you end on.
I am happy for these people, but I'm like, that's what I would do. And I would ask the person, How do you start the camera?
You
blink, or you take a picture? Like, where do you save that to?
Probably
I stick my contact lens.
I save it to my brain. Just upload directly to my brain.
My ear is in.
There's I've got an SD card slot right behind my ear. You just slide that in there.
Technology. I don't even sleep at night. I recharge in the closet. The electric car recharges are now electric human recharges. I don't run on gas.
I can charge myself on my way to work. I just plug into the cigarette lighter.
Hey, I'm using that cigarette lighter.
It's funny that you mention, or maybe not funny, but in almost coincidence that you mentioned. I don't know if you know what's going on right now. with amputees, but the Invictus Games are going on currently at this time. Right. Is that why you mentioned that? I figured that might be why you may have mentioned that. So it's part and part.
I know we try to not stay
current because we're not. We've broken that rule, I think, every single episode. So
cars, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. But that's yes, exactly. Because what's hard to not quote unquote draw something in that I didn't see throughout the week. Like if I'm reading an article, I'm like, this is really cool. How do I bring it? It's like, hey, I was reading this book that I found in the library that's written 13 years ago that talks about technology today. Right? It doesn't work that way.
Well, no, I just think it was funny that you mentioned that because I know that the Invictus Games are going on right now, and I personally know someone who's competing in them.
That's great.
Right now. Yeah, I know someone who lost their leg, not in service, oddly enough. They actually lost it in a boating accident.
I know whom you speak of.
You know whom I speak of?
Yes, you've told me about.
Oh, really?
This
yeah, I think I have. Yeah, and she's competing like I guess today or yesterday. I have no idea. I don't know when the competition actually takes place. But anyway, I saw some picture. I like how we moved from social media right into this because I saw some picture on Facebook, that evil social networking site known as Facebook. You can't get away
from it. It's just.
I saw a picture of her hugging George W. Bush, which I thought was kind of cool.
Great.
Because I was like, that's awesome. Because he went to the Invictus Games today and was like, shaking hands with veterans and hugging people and whatnot. I thought that was really cool.
Really great. I mean, I like that. That is cool.
Anyway, there's got to be. There's probably no better position to be in than to be a former president of the United States. I feel like that's probably the best. No pressure whatsoever. I was the most powerful man in the world at one point, or the free world, whatever you want to call it. Everybody wants to shake my hand. Everybody wants to give me a hug. I'm good on money probably for the rest of my life.
Set for life.
Like, I'm set for life. Yeah, was my job stressful for the 4 or 8 years? Absolutely. But it was 4 of 8 years of my life, and now I'm done. And now I get to go just be a really cool, like, dad or grandpa to everyone and just show up at people's sporting events.
People, generally speaking, don't care about what political affiliation you had.
Exactly. They don't
care. You're a celebrity,
so
to speak, at that point.
Exactly. They don't care anymore. They didn't care whether you were Republican or Democrat or whatever. They don't care. They're just like... Dude, like, if Obama's about to leave office, and I know that we try not to keep up with too current events, but this is happening in November, and we're recording this in May, so I don't feel too bad saying this. Obama's leaving office in November, and if I saw him on the street in, like, December time, I'd be like, Merry Christmas, Obama! Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, I'd be totally fine. I'd walk right up to him and shake his hand. I wouldn't be like... If I opposed to his opinions or didn't like him as a president, I wouldn't sit there and be like, "Oh, you're a terrible president. You ruined our country." And blah blah. I'd just be like, "Dude, Merry Christmas, man! Like, it's sad that your hair's gray now, but Merry Christmas, man."
I know. The aging toll that takes on guys. And see, when they enter the office, you're like,
it's insane.
Man, you're like GQ material. And now
you know what?
Like Grandpa
That's
Jones.
The technological advance that we need. We need the technology to make sure our presidents don't get gray hair. That's going to be it. What is the technology to reverse?
We have that. It's called Not for Men or something like that.
No, you're thinking Touch of Gray. That's when people want to put gray in their hair. That's when people want to dye their hair and make sure that they have just a little bit of gray.
Like, do you dye your hair? And my first thought is, do I dye? Why would I dye my? And then I realized, I've got this.
Some people do that,
right? And then so the barbers will tell me. Or the salon stylists, excuse me, they'll be like, do you dye this? I'm like, no, that's natural. And they're like, oh my gosh, guys will spend so much money just having that dyed. And I'm like, hallelujah.
Well, that's because the spot that you have kind of looks cool. It's almost like a rogue.
I have like from like X-Men. Quicksilver kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
Quicksilver in the movies, did he have this? But you're right, it's like rogue.
I have no idea. Why did we go nerdy? That was my fault. I'm sorry. We have to do that at least once every episode.
To some degree, we have nerds in us.
Speaking of technological advances, why don't we have like some of the things that the X-Men had? I mean, I thought some of their advances were pretty awesome.
Like the spaceship or what? The flying ship?
Yeah, no. I'm not talking about their powers. I'm talking about some of the technologies that they had. Like, yeah, okay. So it wasn't a spaceship. It was a Blackbird. It's a stealth.
Yeah, I think they called it the Lockheed or something like that.
I don't remember what the
I don't know what the name is. This proves that we're not that nerdy.
Yeah, this does prove that we're not that nerd, which is good. That's good, all right?
A spaceship.
That means there's still hope for us.
Now there's people out there that like know Marvel, and they're like, it's called this, you idiots. It's not a plane. It's not a spaceship.
This is probably why. See, and this is the biggest this is actually probably one of the reasons why our show is going to tank, because we're too far nerdy for people who don't like any of this stuff. That they're like, why are they talking about this? But we're not far enough that the actual nerds will want to listen to us. They're like,
for their next
I can't.
Batman issue 1627 is coming out. They're going to talk about it.
That means the only people that would want to listen to our show is maybe us, and even I don't want to listen to it sometimes. So, sarcasm, of course. I enjoy listening to our show. I go back and listen to our show every single. Well, I mean, I have to. We edit the show, so I get to go back and listen to it, which is nice. Yeah, you get to listen to this drabble, and
I somehow always crack myself up. Like I'll say something, or you'll say something, and I'll just laugh, and I'll be like, is that wrong of me that I cracked myself up?
I can see
am I just that goofy, or am I that
I can
funny?
see you too, because you have like a particular laugh where you laugh and it's like it's one of my favorite laughs. You're not the only person who has it. I know other people who have it, but it's a laugh where it's like you aren't breathing.
Yes.
It's just like there's no air coming out. It's just the mouth is open, and I can see you doing that on your desk. Like you'll be going through the episode and you'll like smack spacebar down because you laugh so hard, and you just start like beating the desk. But no sound is coming out, to the point where if somebody was in the other room in your place right now, they would think you're just like beating like a gnat or something, like trying to like hit a mosquito or something, just smacking the desk. Like, I'm going to get it.
And my face turns so red that people are like, are you like embarrassed, or what is wrong with you? And it's like this, like, it's like, I was going to say plum, but it's like cherry colored. Boom. Bright purple.
It's like what is that? What is I was gonna say sucker, but that's probably not.
Yeah,
it's a derogatory term.
That's from like. So
I meant like a Tootsie Pop, like a red Tootsie Pop.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, exactly. How many licks to get to the center of B's brain? I'd rather you not find out. Don't lick me.
Oh God, yeah, please no.
So when you said sucker, I was thinking like those Bugs Bunny cartoons. Where
that's what I was thinking of. That's what I was thinking, but I didn't want to say sucker.
Like, ching, sucker. Yeah, and they're like, oh, what's up, Doc, or whatever. I got a carrot I want to sell you, or whatever the gig was.
I don't.
I don't remember. I've slept. It's been several years since I've seen Bugs Bunny.
I don't think Bugs Bunny was ever trying to sell carrots. No, I think if anything, he might have been trying to buy carrots. Oh but
that's right.
I'm pretty sure he was never selling carrots. After this, I am going to go Google. I'm going to go Google Bugs Bunny selling carrots and just see if that's even a thing. So we got way off topic. Did you have anything on your list of technological advances that you just can't live without?
Mine would be medical advances. I couldn't pick one specific one, but they'd be medical advances. For example, I was talking to a guy today, came out of church, and I had seen this guy. Actually, I'd seen him the last week, but prior to that, I hadn't seen him in a long time. And it's funny, when he grabs me, I go like, hey, and I kind of wave to him, and he just grabs me, and he's like, you're not getting away from me that fast. He gives a massive hug. And so when I saw him today, I went over and talked to him, and he's like, hey, what's been going on with you? And so I said, I ran a 10-mile race a couple of weeks ago. And he was like, get out. That's great. Because kind of one of the last times he had seen me is I had the removable boot on my ankle from when my ankle was broken from playing soccer, basically a year ago. And I had surgery on it to repair it. So they had to slice open my ankle, and they stuck 9 pins in there, which are in there permanently, and they'll never come out. And there's also like this, I guess, like fishing wire harpoon type thing where he like shoots a harpoon across my ankle, inside it.
He Moby Dick.
And he did exactly. And because he showed me on the X-rays, like right there, and they're like, "Oh, that's cool. That's really neat." And I'm like, "Actually, it's not cool that it's in there, but it's cool that you have the technology to, to do that." He shoots this wire across, and then he yanks it to get the bone back in place and drills the pins in there. So the pins are there permanently. And I'm thinking, he's like, wow, that's really great of you. He's getting ready to run a half marathon. And he was just so happy for me. He's like, you look good, this, that, and the other thing. And his wife was there, one of their friends. And so, we're joking around and kidding. So I am very thankful for this. If I had to have one thing, it would be the medical advances and things like that. Because it's not just beneficial for me. Again, this sounds like I'm like on a high horse here, but it's beneficial for all of humanity that we can, people can now have an arm or a hand. And you see people have their fingers reattached, or parts of their body literally reattached. Or there were cases, which I've been reading the past month, of baby sees and hears his mother for the first time after surgery. And I'm like,
a lot of those videos are on Facebook.
Yeah, well, there you go. There they are, right there. I could do without cell phones, but then again, you know me, that's who I am. I'm just the kind of guy who's like, how many years did I didn't have a cell phone until I was well into my 30s. And even then I had like, Crummy Joe flip-flap cell phone.
Sure.
And I'm very thankful for the, it's near and dear to me because I had cancer. Obviously I got to have the cancer removed and I got the 9 pins and the surgery that I can actually resume my activities of running, jump roping, running up and down the stairs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that is my one thing that I would keep.
And I think that those are very valid things to want to keep. I would, if I was in your shoes, I would definitely think about that too. And now I almost want to ask a clarifying question because maybe I was just confused about the original question. I kind of feel like an idiot for picking cell phones to begin with. So maybe
each person would really kind of have their own.
But I was only thinking about like. I was only
specific. You're thinking like a specific, like
I was thinking of like a
phone.
specific niche of things,
right?
Like
I would, and
type
I think
of thing.
Cell phone is a specific niche. I mean, really, do because
no. But
you have communication, everything that's in it.
I wasn't thinking about. So it sounds like maybe a better way to reword your question, and I could be wrong on this, but to me, it sounds like. If you could only take one technological advance with you and go back 15 years and live 15 years ago with that technological advance,
that's a better way of saying
what
it.
would it be?
Yes.
That might be a better way of saying it because then I have to think about everything else that relates to it because having that cell phone ain't going to do me jack nothing back in 2001 because cell phone towers aren't going to be great and, what would be the point? Like, if anything, I would take Hot Pockets back because they've gotten significantly better in the last 15 years. Like, I would take that back with me instead. Well, I don't know why I would take cell phones back.
Sugar and like stuff with minerals and vitamins.
Tons of cheese upon cheese. I get that 3 cheese, ham and cheese, or whatever it is. I'm just kidding.
Speaking of technology and food, I'm reminded of a commercial. I think it's a Dairy Queen commercial where they're like, what makes Dairy Queen's, I think it's Dairy Queen, what makes Dairy Queen Fudge Blizzard so wonderful? And they have all these scientists in a lab and they're trying to like study it. They're putting it through all these tests and they're like, this is amazing. We don't know. And then they cut to the lady behind the counter of the Dairy Queen. She goes, guys, I just put fudge in it. And then they all look at Dairy Queen fudge smoothie or whatever it is, icy, and they hold it up to the light like God shining down upon it. And they go, "It's science."
Very simple ad, but very clever.
It's true. As people are just like, point. I don't really care. Does it taste good? Give it to me. More cheese.
Yeah, that's true.
But you're right. So originally, that's how I wanted to intended to ask this question. And I had thought this question up at work a few weeks ago, but last week was you asking. And so I had I'd slept since then again, to use a phrase I use a lot. And I had forgotten specifically how to use it. And I had been...
No, that's fine.
Yours was
fine.
A better way of adding. Like if you had to go back 15 years.
No, I was just asking because that makes a huge significant difference depending on what you take with you. Now, medical advances, that's kind of a broad scheme. So you're taking quite a bit of things, but that's okay. Right. I still feel like that's one category.
Or whatever, right.
Taking cell phones back, though, I mean, if the internet isn't really updated, if the...
think about it. If you're taking away internet and you just have cell phone, how many people would still keep their cell phone? Now, okay, granted, to some degree, I'll let you have Wi-Fi, right? But the thing is, you're not making all the app purchases and things you're doing with your phone. Your phone is now relegated to phone, original use, right? Voice communication, texting, GPS, and photographs and video.
See, and even now when I'm rethinking of the question, I'm trying to think of other things that I take back. And the first thing I thought about...
your razor...
Well, that was back then. I had it back then already. So, no, I was thinking video games. I was like, I'd like to take the type of video games we have now back then. But at the same time, no, I don't want to. Because video games was like a whole different creature back then, and there was a little more love and craftsmanship that went into it, and I would rather experience it the way that it was than experience it the way that it is now. Not to say that now sucks. I mean, there's plus and minuses of where we're at in the gaming world right now, but I just mean I would rather just experience it the way. I can't think of. I don't know if I could take anything back. You took the one thing that I think anyone should take back, which is medical advances.
People with mine's the best. I win.
But, okay, you know what? Fine, I got one. I'm gonna take fashion back because '90s fashion was disgusting. I don't want to wear
better than 80s.
I don't want to wear windbreakers anymore, okay? Windbreakers were like the dumbest thing ever, and I probably had like 3 as a kid. Granted, that was probably the 90s, not necessarily the 2000s, but I had like 5 or 6 windbreakers, and
Why so many?
I don't know. Maybe it was just windy. It was windier in the 90s.
The 90s were really windy.
The 90s were windy.
We didn't have global warming.
We didn't have global warming. We had
all those tornadoes. Hey, I live in a trailer park. You're going to need a couple windbreakers. In fact, your trailer's going to need a windbreaker.
We've got a custom-sized windbreaker. It's got a big zipper on it for your trailer. Just
drive right into that and then zip up when it gets dark during the day. It's like Noah's Ark for trailers park.
I think we caused Brendan to have a heart attack or something.
Oh, lovely. I have to just... All right, so that's enough of that silliness. Anything do you want to add, Daniel? Any technology things?
Please don't make me wear a windbreaker ever again. I think that's about it. I can't think of anything else.
That's good enough. Thanks again for listening, everybody. We hope you enjoyed another episode of The Show with No Name.